Good evening and welcome to Woodstock City Council. It is Thursday, February the 7th, 2019. And for those of you that are in the gallery tonight, thank you for braving the inclement weather and taking your time on those icy sidewalks. And we have quite a few delegations tonight on the agenda, so we'll get right to work. Any disclosure of conflict of interest? Seeing none, any disclosure of new business? Any matters arising from the minutes? The minutes of the January 17th meeting. Councillor Lauder.
Thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Talbot that the minutes of the regular meeting of the Woodstock City Council held on January the 17th, 2019 be adopted.
Thank you. You've heard the motion. Any errors or omissions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. And our first delegation tonight is Ian Wilcox, the General Manager of Upper Thames River Conservation Authority. Welcome.
Great. Thank you very much, Mayor Birch and members of Council. Appreciate the invitation tonight. I'm here obviously to speak to our draft 2019 budget. Got some slides, about 9 slides to walk you through. Those members who sit on County Council have seen a version of this already, so a little change up. But I will disclose right at the beginning that when we speak about our budget numbers, it's for Oxford County as a whole. And if a question ever arises of what's Woodstock's share of that amount, I have no idea. You'll have to speak with the county and how they apportion those costs out. So what I'd like to do is, in your agenda package is a fact sheet. And what's on the screen is really just a series of screenshots from that fact sheet, and I'll just walk you through the relevant points. There is a much more detailed budget available in your office somewhere, or we can make it available. But really the fact sheet, I think, covers most of the information. So with that, I'll start walking you through. Front page, I always have to start with our jurisdiction map of the watershed. And I know several of you have served on Upper Thames. You've heard me speak many times before. We have a watershed jurisdiction for the Upper Thames. I mean, the shape that's on the screen is very familiar to our staff, but not to many others because it's a watershed jurisdiction. We have portions, roughly equal portions of Oxford, Middlesex, and Perth County. City of London's on the lower left. You're obviously more to the east, and we go up just north of Mitchell for our area. 17 member municipalities within that jurisdiction, all are the entirety of each of those municipalities. We are governed by you as municipalities. Our board has 15 members representing those municipalities. So our programs and services really are generated and directed locally, which I think is a strength of conservation authorities. And of course, we cost money, so it's cost sharing from those municipalities as well as other levels of government and other sources. You can see our budget's just over $20 million for 2019. About a third of that is funded municipally. I'll go over that in a bit. And overall, Oxford County's portion of our budget is about 4.8% contributed towards that. So again, just screenshots from sections of the fact sheet. Really the yellow square box, just trying to highlight what it is conservation authorities do. We all do the same thing, same 4 things. We protect people and property from flooding. And you'll recognize that with things like Pittock Dam, and you as councillors and through land use planning know about our regulations and our input to plan review, those types of programs. We try and improve water quality. We protect and try and expand natural areas, natural cover through the watershed. And finally, we try and provide outdoor recreation and education opportunities. And that's really there to try and instill a conservation ethic among the public. So again, for you, having Pittock Conservation Area within the city boundary, that's an example of that type of program. Now, if you move into the fact sheet, kind of the center 2 pages is all about our strategic plan, which I've certainly been at the county for the past couple of years talking about it. It is the budget driver for us. That's why I'm highlighting it. It's about setting environmental targets. It's about trying to move the yardstick. So I got to be clear right up front. Our budget is not a status quo budget. We are trying to do more. We are trying to make measurable, visible differences in the health of the watershed. And of course, that requires some investment. So some sections. Environmental targets, this derived from the fact that, I mean, we invest a lot of energy in monitoring the health of the watershed, the water quality, the amount of cover. And it's very clear that if we look at the last 30 years of information, status quo is about the best we're accomplishing. There is all kinds of work going on that we do, that other not-for-profits, that individuals do, and all that work is phenomenal. But in light of increased development, other stresses, even changes in weather patterns, it seems to equal out. So status quo when it comes, for example, to water quality is the best we're accomplishing. And while that is a form of success, that's not what we've signed up for. We want to move things forward. So another example of that, and I think some of you have heard me speak about this before, is when it comes to natural cover in the watershed or forest cover. And some data on the screen. This slide is not in your fact sheet. So when we looked at the amount of natural cover in our watershed from 2000 to 2010, we lost 800 hectares of cover during that time. It was reduced by 800 hectares, so 2,000 acres was lost. Not necessarily big patches. It can be just trimming here and there, but collectively it added up to the 800 hectares. Now at the same time, I think you all know, you have strong community members' interest. Tree planting is a big part of what we do, what lots of community groups do. But if you add most of that up during that same 10-year period, about 324 hectares were planted. So that's significant, but it's not keeping up with the loss. So if you project that forward, it doesn't bode well for the future. And even when we look at tree planting programs, that's a poor second choice to preserving woodlots in the first place. New forests take 20 to 50 years for the trees to mature, but well in excess of 100 years for that woodlot to begin to function, all the systems and interconnections work effectively. So that's an objective measure and something that's a little sobering. The blue text at the very bottom shows Oxford's numbers. 218 hectares were lost in that period, 134 planted. So that's not pointing the finger anywhere. It's just a fact, and is part of what's motivated our strategic plan to try and do more. So again, the yellow box, this is a screenshot from the fact sheet. This was all about setting targets. We know where we sit now. We know what our baseline environmental condition is, and we were looking to the future, the next 20 years. What can we accomplish in this watershed that's realistic? So it's scoped at the top, and some of these targets maybe take a bit of an explanation, but the first one is around water quality, and we're trying to improve the water quality in every sub-watershed, every stream, and we put letter grades on these. Right now, every one of them in the watershed is ranked as a C or a D, and you can think of that the same as your kids' report cards. At least we're not failing, but that's where you kind of have the speech that with a bit more effort, maybe we can do B's and C's, and that is our target in the next 20 years, is to try and improve our grades to B's and C's. The second one is about the forest cover. It says establish and restore 1,500 hectares of natural cover over the next 20 years. That's 1,000 hectares of new cover is our target. And keep in mind, I just told you we lost 800. So we've got to stop losing, and then we've got to start gaining. So there's some work to do there. Number 3 is around our flood control function, and it's really about updating our floodplain modeling that identifies where the greatest flood risk is. And really that's critical because it directs new development to safe locations. So we need the latest information. Those models are very dated, and we have much more accurate data to support it now. And then the last one is around recreation, education. It says reach 1 million people annually with conservation experiences and messages through visitation to natural areas. We have about 700,000 visitors watershed-wide now. We think bumping that to 1 million is realistic. And as a comparison, that's the equivalent of 2 visits per year for every resident in the watershed, which we think is reasonable. So those are the targets. They cost money. So a $20 million budget, we're looking at over time a $4 million increase to that base budget. And the summary in the end, again, we're $20 million right now. We're asking for new investment. The pie chart shows where our funding comes from. Again, a third from municipalities, almost a third from us hustling contracts, trying to use your money and match it with revenue from whoever will match it. User fees contribute, things like our campground revenues and tree planting. I'll point out a really skinny slice at the top is our transfer payment from the province. That's about 1.8% of our budget. And we hope to retain that for the upcoming year. But really the driver for our 2019 budget is investment in the targets, our strategic plan, and there is a 2.1% cost of living increase. So the last slide, and I apologize for the small text, and I'll even have to look it up. Again, for Oxford County, the total levy will be $982,240. That's a $57,000 increase. Of that, $47,000 is for targets, and in percentage terms, it's 6.2%, which I know is moving into the uncomfortable range of increases. But again, this is not about status quo. So that's the budget that we are presenting. This is draft for now. Councillor Schadenberg will be voting as your representative on our board at the annual meeting in a couple weeks to consider this budget. And the last comment I will make, a bit separate from the budget, is the significant shift we're going to have at Pittock Conservation Area in 2019 with free open public access on the North Shore, and hopefully through some investment, the crossing across Pittock Dam to the South Shore as well. That I have to recognize Brian Connors and David Creary have worked with us. I think we've come to an agreement. It's a significant change, but honestly, if we look to the future, this is in the best interest of the public. It's public land, and we think it makes complete sense, and we're excited about the change. So I will leave it there unless there's questions.
Thank you. Questions of council? Councillor Schadenberg.
From the mayor through to Mr. Wilcox, you talked about the educational component being part of the work of the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority. And I know this past May 15th, 18th, I believe it was, Pittock was sort of the site of the Children's Water Festival. Talk a little bit more about the sort of the educational component, some of the things beyond floodplain and work that the Upper Thames does in campgrounds.
Yeah, the Children's Water Festival is a cornerstone program that we have. We rotate every 3 years between Oxford County, which was last year, kind of City of London, Middlesex will be this coming year, and then we support Elgin County's efforts as well. That is a phenomenal program geared at elementary school kids over the course of a week. This past year, we added a public evening for members of the community to come, and had several thousand people attend. Caught us off guard in a positive way. But honestly, the most important thing we can do as a conservation authority is create this conservation ethics. So the next generation comes along and values the natural environment, whether it's water quality or natural areas. So the programs we offer, the school education programs, things like the Water Festival, just the opportunity to go for a hike or a mountain bike on trails, that's the purpose of all those things. Even the camping we have at Pittock, it is not there to make money, because it doesn't. It's there to try and create value. So cornerstone programs for us.
Thank you. Further questions of council? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Our next delegation tonight is Chris Eby on the Community Free Table. Welcome.
Mayor Birch, councillors, this is just an update to tell you since September the 15th what's going on Saturday mornings. This is Monica. She's my right-hand man when I'm not there or in the hospital, and I apologize for the last one because I was in the hospital. But anyway, Monica runs the table when I'm not there, and she reports back to me or my wife any problems that she's had. When we started in September the 15th, there was maybe 10 or 15 people coming. We're now up to 35, almost weekly. The community has got right behind it. Your Oxford's got behind us. The Unifor Hall here, Domino's Pizza, Boston Pizza, Twice a Deal, Burger King, fact, this Saturday, Burger King's, we're getting hamburgers from Burger King at 50% off their costs so that we can hand out burgers, and I have ordered 60. So, and I'd like to thank, we would like to thank you, the councillors, for the support you have given us for showing up at the table and saying hi to some of the guys. And I'll tell you, a lot of them, when they say, who was that? Well, that was Councillor Atchione or Councillor Schadenberg. You know what? They turn around and say, wow, they really care about us? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, they do. So just a small update on what's going on, and it's going to get bigger yet because the need is there. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions of council? Councillor Lauder.
Thank you. It's not a question. I want to thank you and Monica for the great job that you're doing. And it means so much to those people, I'm sure, that come and see you every Saturday. So thank you from all council, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next delegation is Peter Kroos.
Hi. I'm going to do this slightly in a different order. I'm going to do 1, 4, and combine the other two. I am putting forward like a request that the city pass a motion demanding the LCBO option that you would be already familiar with as the more safer way and the only place to sell marijuana as the sale and thus they could use it for the money part of it towards hospitals, schools, and infrastructure. The number 4, I am putting forward an idea of, I'm just calling it a head tax, you don't need to actually call it that, to be paid by those who do not vote in municipal, provincial, federal election in order to increase the city tax base. It would be a fee paid for more or less the right to not to vote, as people have that right, but it's for free. I kind of think maybe that should be corrected slightly. To which the right of every citizen has. The only people that I would myself exempt would be people that are not Canadian citizens, 25 or younger, or on ODSP, etc. Maybe people over 80 and Canadian veterans. Now, 2 and 3, like I said, I decided to combine them. I know that the lion poo has become a important issue, but it doesn't have much land around it. And so I'm kind of thinking, instead of an expansion of the Southside Park, we could make a deal with the Sally Creek Center at the north end of the city, kind of like a north and Southside Park or something like that, to which people could use both the utilities of both for events and stuff, just like the Southside Park is, and it would save thus a lot of money. And what I'm thinking of is that for the Lions Poo Park, there is enough space up where the Sally Creek there. You could make an extension or onto the building for a Lions Poo be built there, and you could make it in colored in the Woodstock colors. That could be maybe an alternative, and then you would be able to find another alternative for the current Lion Pooh Park, because whatever you decide with the Lion Pooh Park, you will always be stuck with the following issue: lack of parking and stuff. Whoever decided to put it there didn't think about that long-term issue. There is, of course, another alternative for a Lion Pooh is the Colin Park area. You got a lot of land up there. You could extend the buildings and have a pool there area, and again have it in Woodstock colors on the outside. That's the basically my thing. I am aware that the Sally Creek is kind of a private center of sorts, but I kind of think that the people would not object to keeping the membership and their own things, but yet have it open to the public and maybe, like I'm saying, a proof thing. Those are my what I am proposing. So does anybody have any questions?
Thank you. Questions of council? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Okay, thanks.
Our next delegation is McKenna Hall regarding request for in-kind support for a special event coming up for International Women's Day for the grade 9 students in the community. Welcome.
Hi. Hello, my name is McKenna Hall, and I'm a student at College Avenue Secondary School. I'm so thankful to present #GrowGirls to you this evening. It is my hope that #GrowGirls will become a yearly event for grade 9 girls in Woodstock and the greater community. I chose to create this day as I, among others, have faced the challenges regarding mental health and acceptance. I wanted to empower young girls to be all they can be, to avoid the same struggles and stigmas that I faced. On the screen, you will see the Grow goals for the day, which include grow positivity and self-confidence in youth, recognize and connect with the supports in the Woodstock community, opportunity to see yourself as a leader, working on yourself through personal wellness. As I have mentioned, Grow Girls is a program for all grade 9 girls across Woodstock and the greater community. A team of school staff and students have come together over the past few months to plan a day of celebration, expression, learning, and connections for girls. We have been so fortunate to work with Calvary Church, who have generously donated their beautiful space to hold this event on March 6th. As you can see from our agenda, it will be an action-packed day with motivational speakers, various breakout sessions that will appeal to all, and most importantly, opportunities to connect with each other and community partners. We have had such a great response from our community already. From donations to community groups who will be setting up displays and running sessions, the support has been tremendous and inspiring. Throughout the day, participants will be able to choose from different sessions that will support their interests, as well as their own personal well-being. From Zumba and yoga to mindfulness, poetry, and healthy relationships, there is a session for everyone. We have chosen these sessions and designed the day to support the Ministry of Education's well-being strategies. The strategy focuses on well-being in the following areas: physical well-being, cognitive well-being, emotional well-being, social well-being, spiritual/self well-being. In order to ensure equitable participation in this event so that we can remove any barriers for students and schools to attend, we are asking for council to consider providing free of charge transportation by city buses. We have the need for 3 buses, both for arrivals and returns. Outlined in this slide are the 3 buses that would be required to bring the students to the event, or to the schools and then to the event, and from the event. The Grow Girls initiative in the city of Woodstock is from a student voice within their community, is developed by students, is led by students, and is for students. This delegation asks that you not only take this as information, but refer it to staff for report, thus ensuring that input is received before the decision is made. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions of council? Councillor Accioni?
Thank you, Your Worship. As a father of teenage daughters, let me just say thank you. It's such an inspiration, McKenna, to see what you're doing, what you're trying to do with your fellow youth, and keep the positive going. So just thank you.
Thank you.
Great job, and definitely will be supporting this.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councillor Tate?
Yeah, just through your worship to the delegation, I don't think we'll need a report. I'm sitting beside the city engineer, and I'm pretty sure you can get the buses. We can probably prove it tonight.
Thank you so much.
Councillor Fraser?
I too just want to congratulate you on putting this together. Empowerment of young ladies is also important, just as empowerment of adult females is important. So you're on the right path. Keep going. And yeah, I agree with Councillor Tate. I don't think we need a report. We'll make it work.
Thank you so much.
I'd like to thank you for coming to City Hall originally and getting this all started and coming here tonight. I know you've got a few supporters with you, but there's a lot of people behind the scenes that are going to be putting this all together. So all the best on the 6th, and I'll pop in and check in on the progress with some of the community partners that day.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
And now it's time for consideration of delegations. And we'll see who would like to make a motion. Councillor Tate?
I'll move that Woodstock City Council receive the 2019 Upper Thames River Conservation Authority draft budget presentation as information.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Schadenberg. Any discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. And the next item, Councillor Accioni.
Moved by myself, that Woodstock City Council receive the update from Chris Eby regarding the community free table as information.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Lauder. Discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. And our next item on the agenda, Councillor Talbot.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council receive the presentation from Peter Croves as information.
Thank you. And the seconder, Councillor Fraser. Discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. Next item on the agenda, Councillor Fraser.
Woodstock City Council support the in-kind request for transportation and from the grade 9 female identified student event on March 6, 2019. And I would hope that Harold would be able to make that happen.
Thank you. A seconder, Councillor Accioni. Further discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. There will be some busing. And next item on the agenda is our dedicated gas tax funding for public transportation. Councillor Lauder.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council refer the 2018-2019 dedicated gas tax funding for public transportation report to the bylaw section of the meeting.
Discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. And the next item on the agenda is the capital budget bylaw approval. Councillor Tate.
That Woodstock City Council refer the 2019 capital budget bylaw approval to the bylaw section of the meeting.
Thank you. And the seconder, Councillor Schadenberg. Discussion? You've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. Next item on the agenda is the bulk item curbside collection. Councillor Fraser.
That Woodstock City Council approve the revision to the curbside bulk item collection schedule to 2 cycles per year as a change to base budget in the 2019 revenue budget.
Seconder, Councillor Lauder. Discussion? Councillor Fraser.
I just wanted to comment on the report from engineering. It was very good, very plain, very understanding. Maybe just for the publics of those that don't read the agendas, maybe Mr. DeHaan could just expand it a little bit for the public.
Your Worship, through the councillor. Basically, staff is proposing that since the Enviro Depot is open year-round now, and basically for 8 months of the year, providing the opportunity for residents to drop off their household hazardous waste as well as bulk item and construction debris and other items that don't fit in the garbage at the depot. 8 months of the year, there's 4 days a week, and then 4 months of the year just on Saturdays. The curbside bulk item collection program is kind of a little bit redundant. However, recommending that not all people can get their material to the depot, we don't feel that it should be completely eliminated. So what we're proposing is to cut the cycles from 6 down to 2. We basically do the first one that we always do in the season, first thing in the spring, and then the other one in the fall, in order to save the city some money. That's what basically the recommendation boils down to. And the reason this is coming, I may should mention that, the reason this is coming prior, outside the budget cycle, the actual discussions, is because we need the decision made now so that we can get the information in the next service calendar, which the deadline is due before the budget deliberations have started.
Thank you. Further questions of council? Councillor Talbot?
Thank you, Your Worship, through to Mr. Dahandi. Obviously, the depot has been very popular. Now that it's just down to the Saturdays, are we finding that people are still coming out in the wintertime and using it?
Your Worship, through the councillor, yes, we are. It's actually the daily usage has actually gone up a little bit from what we were seeing before we slipped to the once a week. So the use of that site is steady.
Thank you. Further questions? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. Next item on the agenda is the Cowan Park Indoor Walking Track. Councillor Accioni?
Thank you. Moved by myself that Woodstock City Council approve the continuation of the walking track program until the 2019 operational budget process has been concluded. And further, that Woodstock City Council approve an amendment to Municipal Code Chapter 330, fees and charges, to include the current introductory rates for the walking track, and that the necessary bylaw be read.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Lauder. Discussion? Councillor Lauder?
Could I just have Mr. Connors speak to the popularity of this? Seems like people are really using it, and I know I've had compliments on they just think it's wonderful, and they were getting a little nervous that it was going to be closed soon, and they also are complimenting the cleanliness of the building. They're really pleased with it.
Your Worship, through to the councillor's question. Right now, between October 22nd and the end of the year, we sold 512 walking track memberships. And on average, we get about 100 people per day using the walking track. We know this because they have to swipe in to open the door, and that's how many times they've swiped in.
Thank you. Further questions of council? Councillor Fraser?
The fees that Your Worship, through to the fees that are being charged, is this in line as what was charged in the last quarter when we took it over?
Your Worship, through to the councillor's question. These fees will be the same. 2018 pilot program fees will be the same now if this is passed. The difference between when we took it over and the soccer club was running it, these fees are up 13%. So that's the difference in fees. They were increased 13% in the pilot.
Thank you. Further questions of council? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. Next item on the agenda is the Woodstock Wolverines football. A request for home field. Councillor Fraser?
The Woodstock City Council received the Woodstock Wolverines football home field report as information.
Thank you. And the seconder, Councillor Accioni. Discussion? Councillor Tate?
Through Your Worship to Mr. Connors, I just have a question. do the Wolverines people, are they aware of the report and their comments on the field?
Your worship, through to the councillor's question, I've spoken to the head coach about this report. Both the football and soccer got sent this, and we received their feedback. Both were very excited about it before I sent this to council. So what this does, though, is it provides a multi-purpose field, but it's certainly one that football will be able to use as a field that will be playable to their level.
Councillor Tate.
So just further that, I'd just like to thank Mr. Connors for the report, because we've thrown a lot at him this last few months. So thanks for getting that done, and for the Wolverines.
Councillor Accioni.
Yes, thank you. I just want to say thank you as well, Brian. There's been a lot of different thoughts on where to go with this. I guess the only thing I'm not 100% sure on, are they going to be using Cass Field at all anymore? Or is this going to be their primary home then for practice and games?
Your worship, through to the councillor's question, I'm not sure what they requested that they need more field use. Whether they use Cass more or less, I'm not sure. I think obviously this season they won't be using this field because this won't be built until after August. So they've got to, I think, go through one more season of trying to find out where to go. But after that, from what I understand, they'll want to principally book this field out. But I know they've been talking about wanting multiple fields, right? So they'll be able to practice on a few of the fields at Cowan Park, and then games would probably be there. Or if they want to have further practices other places, that's up to that league.
Thank you. And we'll go Councillor Tate.
I forgot, just through your worship, just for council's benefit, the CEO and I had lunch with the head of the Cowan Foundation on Monday, and she will be going on a tour of she's new, she's just taken over, so she's going on a tour of the facilities we have with Emma. So I'm hoping once she sees everything and she's aware also of the football field, keep our fingers crossed. We never know, Emma's pretty good at her job, so.
Councillor Fraser.
Your worship, through to Brian, just more of a comment that excellent report once again, and thank you. And so everybody understands part of this is going to be done through the 2019 capital budget that we're going to approve tonight. And so the aspect is that your staff will be able to start working on actual constructing the physical field this year and start putting things in place, and it's all part of this budget that we're going to work on tonight.
Your worship, through to the councillor's question, that is correct. We don't want to interfere with all the soccer field bookings, so we have to do it at the end of the season. So when their season starts to tailor down, that's when we'll be doing a lot of the changeovers and moving. But it will be an in-house. So it'll be city staff that will be doing these field reconstructions, and that's why we can keep the cost down.
Councillor Fraser.
And just another comment, your worship, through to Brian. If the staff does an amazing job on it as they've done on the baseball diamonds, I think it'll be a football field to envy.
Councillor Accioni.
Thank you, Your Worship. And just for council's information, I just got a message from one of the executive from the football saying that they do plan on staying at the new field once it's done and will not be playing at Cass. So that is their plan.
Further discussion? Councillor Schadenberg.
From the mayor, I'm not sure if, to Brian Connors again, I'm not sure if he can answer this question. It might be more a question for the Wolverines program. But if the players arrive with shoulder pads and whatnot, there will never be any kind of a request to do an addition for larger dressing rooms or anything like that at Cowan Park as far as one could guesstimate?
Your worship, through the councillor's question, at this point in time, there's no plan for that, but I would think that down the road, multiple teams would want to look at different items at Cowan, but that's certainly nothing on our budgetary radar. And if a single team would want something like that, then we would be looking at them to provide the bulk of the funding for it. But there are a lot of expansion pieces. This would obviously be the first piece in that, but we're making sure that it's for multiple user groups.
Thank you. Further questions of council? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. Next item on the agenda is the request for approval to transfer lands to the County of Oxford. Councillor Talbot?
I'll move that Woodstock City Council refer the request for approval to transfer lands to the County of Oxford, report to the bylaw section of the meeting.
And a seconder, Councillor Accioni. Discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. And next item on the agenda is the support person pass policy update. Councillor Lauder?
I'll move that Woodstock City Council approve the amendment to Council Policy A003, Support Person Pass Transit, to allow directors of support organizations to recommend their clients for eligibility for Support Person Pass.
And a seconder, Councillor Accioni. Discussion? Councillor Lauder?
Through the mayor to Mrs. Humphreys, would you like to just update us on what this policy change is for the public?
Sure. Thank you, Your Worship. Through to Councillor Lauder. So this report is requesting a change to the support person pass policy for conventional transit so that directors of support organizations can verify the need for a support person for the applicants rather than sending them to their medical professional. So we actually had a request come in from WDDS asking that their director be allowed to approve the applications or sign off on the applications rather than them sending their clients to their doctor. So as an example, an organization like this would actually have access to enough medical information to be able to verify the need for that support person. So we thought that this was a good idea for the program because it not only reduces the burden for the applicant, but also for medical professionals. So we're asking for the ability to be able to accept sign-off from those directors.
Thank you. Further questions of council? Councillor Accioni?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just more of a general comment I think this is a great case where just common sense prevails and we kind of simplify things and less burden on everything. So hats off to city staff that did put this together, and thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. Next item on the agenda is some amendments to our human resource policies. Councillor Fraser?
Excuse me, that Woodstock City Council repeal policies HR 001, HR 002, HR 007, and HR 008, and further the City Council approve the new policy HR 001 - recognition of employee service.
Thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Lauder. Discussion? Councillor Fraser?
I see Ms. Laird sitting here, so we should get him up to explain this one.
Thank you, Your Worship, and also thank you for the opportunity to stand up after sitting for so long. As I've indicated in the report, there are, excuse me, 4 policies I'm recommending be repealed. 3 of them because they don't really reflect what would be current or practiced internally or externally. Some of them, with respect to employee recognition, really have not been done for a number of years. The medical examinations is really not in compliance with what would be considered to be current or even in some cases legal practices. With respect to employee recognition, it's something very interesting that when we dug into this policy, it never really did exclude our part-time employees. But talking to people who have been here far, far longer than I have, no one can remember when we ever did recognize our part-time employees for their many, many years of service. As an example, we have crossing guards with over 30 years of experience with us. So part of what's being recommended is not only the repealing and the acceptance of the new employee recognition policy, but also that we do a catch-up with a lot of our part-time employees. And really where we're going with this is it will not care whether you started part-time or full-time. Your date of hire will be your date of recognition for service. So that's where the $8,200 comes in here. And I might want to add, while I do say what we're looking for is that we would look at the last milestone, there is one small exception. I think there's maybe only 2 people or 3 people this applies to, is we're recommending at 25 years, which has been the practice, that employees would get a watch. We actually do have some people who would be getting both a 30-year pin and the watch. So the last one they would get would be the pin, but we're not going to exclude them from getting the watch, and that's included in the cost that's in here.
Thank you. Questions of council? Councillor Fraser.
Your Worships, through to Laird, a very good report, and I think what you're doing is an excellent idea to recognize, in particular, part-time employees, because there's been have a lot of staff that work part-time for the city and have since I started working for the city, well, sort of, at one point. So recognizing those is very worthwhile.
Through your worship, thank you.
Well, definitely, I'd say this is something that's long overdue. In the previous term of council, I was able to attend many of the employee recognition ceremonies, and it was in fact with the crossing guard, and I put together a bit of a declaration to make sure we thank them, and that's when we got looking at these policies. So I think it's long overdue, and everybody that works here at the city, no matter what job they do, whether it's a few hours a day or a week, it's important to our community. So thank you very much. You've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. And we have no notices of motion or new business. So next up will be the bylaws. Councillor Lauder.
Thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Talbot that the following bylaws be given first and second reading. 9267-19, a bylaw to adopt the 2019 capital budget for the City of Woodstock. 9268-19, a bylaw to provide for the delegation of powers and duties by council to allow staff to provide comments to the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario with respect to any cannabis store license applications. 9269-19, a bylaw to authorize the mayor and the director of administrative services to sign the letter of agreement for the transfer of dedicated gas tax funds for public transportation program. 9270-19, a bylaw to provide for the dedication and naming of parts of highways in the city of Woodstock, Tecumseh Street, Lynx Crescent, and Fairway Road. 9271-19, a bylaw to amend City of Woodstock Municipal Code Chapter 330, fees, charges. And 9272-19, a bylaw to provide for the sale of certain lands owned by the Corporation of the City of Woodstock to the County of Oxford, Commerce Way, and Beards Lane. That should be Beards Land. 9273-19, a bylaw to provide for the sale of certain lands owned by the Corporation of the City of Woodstock to the County of Oxford, Nellis Street.
Thank you. You've heard the motion. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. Councillor Lauder.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Talbot that the following bylaws be given third and final reading, 9267-19 to 9273-19 inclusive.
Thank you. You've heard the motion. All those in favor? Carries. Unanimous. And tonight we'll start with Councillor Accioni.
Thank you, Your Worship. Let me start off then with a thank you to our neighbors over at the county building for putting on a really good conference earlier today that we attended. A Crisis Across the Housing Continuum was the title. It was really educational. I really liked the way they did it and thought it was very well put on, and the activities were really eye-opening. So hats off to the organizers of that. Really do think some good things are going to come out of that. Oh, don't forget, Valentine's Day is coming up, everybody, or at least the men. Wednesday, February 14th. Do not forget. My wife has it on the calendar, so I won't. Golden Gala is coming up. Get your tickets. The Bowl for Kids' sake, if you're not participating, please be generous. That is going to be going on this weekend and going forward. And please drive slowly, especially with this weather. Slow down. Take your time. It does take extra long to come to a complete stop, so plan on that. Thanks, everybody. Drive safe.
Thank you. Councillor Lauder.
Thank you. Tonight is the opening of the Woodstock Theater performance of on Golden Pond. So it's on this weekend and next weekend, so hopefully people can try and get out to that. The Art Gallery exhibition is opening on February the 16th at 2 p.m. and it's Life on the Back of a Turtle. That's Woodlands and Plains Indigenous Art and Picture Arctic Modern North Baffin drawings from 1964. And the other one sounds really spooky. Eating Animals, a darkly humorous puppet installation. Sounds interesting. And the Fanshawe Choir is having a jazz concert at Gough Hall on February 23rd. It's a jazz band from London, and our Fanshawe Choir is going to be singing. And I attended the museum opening of their total revamp. It's very impressive, and the collection to see the collection of things that have happened in Woodstock over many, many years, and also Oxford County. They've really done a great job. So when you get the opportunity, please stop in to see it. And thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Talbot.
Thank you, Worship. I had the pleasure and opportunity today to attend Community Futures Oxford 5th Annual Small Business Support Showcase. I think we were all in the same building today at Quality Inn, and it was really excellent. They had Michelle Schroeder. She's the millennial strategist. And I learned more about what was the thing was workforce forward thinking, profit by engaging the future generations. But learned a lot about traditionalists, baby boomers, Generation X, millennials, and the iGen. So it's interesting to see the different generations and the expectations, but what we're looking at in the workforce that's coming to the future, the iGen ones that are going. She was an excellent speaker, and a lot of good conversation ensued for sure. And then we had a speaker on Digital Main Street, which was another program. Unfortunately, we only had 15 minutes of her, but it was another excellent one for the downtown businesses in the BIA areas, getting them on stream. There's money available, and I know Ramona over at Oxford Small Business is working on some projects to engage the ones in the area. Next Tuesday evening, Chamber of Commerce is having the Forks and Corks. It's a great networking evening and a showcase for businesses in the community that are in the industry of food and entertainment, I guess would be the best way to put it. But a lot of people come out and attend, and it's always very worthwhile. And just for, if you're looking for an event on March the 6th, which is International Women's Day, the tickets are on sale for that, and it's from 5:30 to 9. Make sure you get your tickets ahead of time, because I'm sure it's going to be sold out. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fraser.
Thank you, Worship. I just want to wish everybody a safe drive home, better than last night. And Valentine's Day is coming up. Don't forget it. And hopefully our weather will be supportive, that everybody can enjoy that day as they usually do. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Schattenberg.
With the four previous speakers, I'm down to one event to promote, and that's the Sports Wall of Fame is coming up on Saturday, February the 9th. That's this coming Saturday if you're watching right now. 2 p.m. at Gough Hall, the community complex. Mary Thompson and Seth Yates are the athletes to be honored. Terry Brett in the builders category. Historic category is the late Lloyd Tucker. and the team category is 2003 Wranglers, the baseball team. Of course, it's a free admission. And I want to thank specifically Brad Jansen, Ann Ash, and Spencer Holman from the city of Woodstock who do so much work getting this event together. The Recreation Advisory Committee is the one that looks to the nominations, but as a city of Woodstock event, Spencer, Brad, and Ann do a lot of work. And here's kind of a sneak preview of the program already that Spencer's come up with on the city's programming. So it'll be a great event to attend Saturday at 2 p.m. But come early. Doors open at 1:30 to talk to old friends, and it's always a great reunion type event.
Councillor Tate.
I just want to congratulate Woodstock native Jake Muzzin for being traded to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Very excited in our household, and I'm sure everybody in Woodstock. It was great to see all the news. Every station was talking about Jake and what a great trade. All mentioned he was from Woodstock, so congratulations to his family now that he's closer, and the tickets are still out of this world. So my son tried to go to a game, but nosebleed were $250 US, but maybe someday we'll get there.
Well, thank you, and I'd like to start off by thanking council members and, of course, the acting mayor for filling in. I was able to sneak away for a few days with the family. I'd like to say that the weather was a lot warmer than here, but I think the cold front permeated many areas in the northern hemisphere. But thank you all for filling in, and I see Chili Charlie's prognostication is one that should make some people happy in the friendly city. Since those days off, we've been back to work right away. There is, of course, a lot of action taking place prior to the legislature resuming in a few weeks in Toronto. And there's been many different announcements and working groups collaborating on different things. So yesterday we had visits regarding the municipal governance restructuring, and of course the municipalities here in Oxford County, including the city of Woodstock, as part of this provincial review. That meeting went well. Many in the community, as well as on council here, have seen other communities voicing their concern, asking for support in certain ways for different resolutions. And what I would like to ask of council now, if there's no objections, is that for our next council meeting, we have a report from staff on the agenda regarding what the different formats are for municipal government, comparisons to our neighbors, so that not just council, but all of our community understands where we're at, what some of the other options are, and know some of the work ahead of us to advocate for open and transparent government that is what is needed for the people here in our community, because each community is a little different. So if there's no objections from council, we'll have that on the next agenda. Lots going on, as always, in the city, so stay in touch on the city website, through What's on Woodstock magazine, and Facebook and Twitter and all that good stuff. And I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. Councillor Fraser, seconded by Councillor Schadenberg. All those in favor?